Dan would always say the hour of 8:30 has approached us to start the meeting for the Property Committee on May 13th, 2024. Election of officers, so we'll need a first officer as a chairman, need a motion for a chair.
I'll make a motion to nominate Adi.
Motion by Doc to have nominate Adi, Dick?
You beat me to it.
Okay, yeah, that's right, you don't need a second for this. Any other motions? We have a motion on the floor. Any other motions? I gotta say it 3 times, right? Okay. Any other motions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the,
I would move that we close nominations and, what's the term? That's right.
okay. Dick has made a motion to close the nominations for chairman and cast unanimous ballot for Robert Becker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Okay, we need to open the floor up for a motion to nominate a vice chair.
I'll nominate Dick Miller.
Richie nominates Dick Miller. Any other nominations? Any other nominations?
Close nominations and pass.
It can't come from him. Motion by Rich to close the nomination for vice chair and cast unanimous ballot for Dick Miller. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Okay, secretary, need to open the floor up for a nomination for secretary.
I'll nominate Renee.
Rich? Okay, Rich has nominated Renee for secretary.
Sign the minutes. That's all you got.
Yeah,
Okay, that would be okay.
since she's probably got the best penmanship of anybody here in the committee.
I don't know, I'm left-handed.
Ooh. All right, any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right, anybody would make a
Move that we close nominations.
motion by Dick to close the nomination for secretary and cast unanimous ballot for Renee Lyon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Okay. Those are over. Next, on to the next thing. We have certification of open meeting law requirements. Dawn, we met those, correct? All right. We have a 10-item agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Doc to approve the 10-item agenda. Second by Dick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? If not, none, carried. Okay, everybody got the minutes from the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion to accept if corrections are needed. Now's a good time to speak up.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion by Doc to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Dick. Any other conversation? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. Okay, now we have a 15-minute block of time to comment for the public. On today's agenda items, members may be present in person or call in to make such comments. To comment by telephone, please call 715-538-1894. Public comment may be extended or curtailed at the discretion of the committee and board chair and after the advisement by the committee board. We'll give them a couple minutes and we'll leave it open for a little bit and see if anybody calls. But we haven't been too successful with this lately.
Well, it's not being broadcast anymore, so
Oh, it's not?
this is recorded and televised later.
Oh, they don't do that live? Well, then it's kind of makes the point mute, doesn't it? So, well, I'll guarantee you ain't gonna get any calls. All right, we'll move on to number 6. Samuel's Group Venture Building Project, discussion, action.
Morning, everyone. Just want to give you an update for those of you that don't know me. Kurt Berner from the Samuels Group, for the construction manager that has been a part of the Justice Center project here. We are currently in the phase of, we've turned the project over. We're still working with some contractors to finish up some odds and ends, like the landscaping. Landscaper will be here this week to be able to clean up some of the landscaping that needs to be done. And then we've got some odds and ends throughout the building that as they come up, if Jeremy lets us know, we'll have the contractors come back and take care of them. Got some stuff in the court suite that we're working on yet. So those things will be ongoing. The other update is that there is a renovation project that has been put on hold right now. Becky has submitted for some additional funding, which I believe we may find out in this month of May. So we had some bid documents that had been created for the renovation project. We bid it once and it was over budget, so we revised the scope and we were in the process of rebidding it, when the discussion was made to wait to rebid it until we find out about additional funding to decide whether we wanted to change some scope over there. So I did have Venture meet with Becky to talk about some options of some changes, not that we've implemented any of them, but wanted Venture to at least look at it from whether it would fit and then also code requirements. So that would be information that we would then bring to you before we would finalize the documents based on how the funding would come up. So as of right now, we're kind of in a holding pattern with that renovation project until we find out about funding and then get direction on where we want to go with additional changes to the drawings. So that's about all I have for you updates wise. If anybody has questions.
Is there a drawing and a plan already?
Yeah, we've got floor plan. With you being a new member, we can get you some plans and get you to it. Would you like a hard copy or electronic copy, or what would you? Hard copy. Okay. Yep. We'll get a set printed off for you. We'll get you one as well. Absolutely. Yep.
Somebody asked me this, Kurt. In the original plans for the new Justice Center, those connections, were they actually in the first plans and then they were taken out, or were they never in there at all?
So we had, just to be able to get the openings there, no connection has made, because that was actually phase 2. We were gonna build up to the existing building, move them in, and then make that connection in there. So we've actually made some adjustments to what the original plan set was to get us to that point, but it was not in the original bid set, correct?
And then I know when's the date for the final walkthrough, so? Because I think I asked you this before.
We'll do an 11-month walkthrough. So we turned it over to you the first part of this year. So we'll probably come in October or November of this year and walk through and just see if there's any items that fall under that warranty period with you guys. But until that time, if something comes up for Tim or Jeremy, obviously let us know and we'll get them addressed. But yeah, we'll do a walkthrough here towards the end of this year.
But you still have yard work to do and there's some grass.
Yep, landscapers here this week and.
But inside structurally, everything's done.
Well, we've got some odds and ends in the courtroom that we're working on. There's some issues with some of the doors and some of the finishes that we're waiting for contractors to clean up. So stuff like that, as it comes up, let us know and we'll get the contractors here to address them.
And I have some of that on my maintenance department update, more specific for what he's thinking of.
Yeah.
And then if there is latency like it is now, like you're taking everything from the first year, do we get an extra 5 months warranty on that?
Oh, yeah,
You know?
depending on when it's completed, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, that's important.
Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Does anybody here have any questions for Kurt? I appreciate, Kurt, you coming today. Tim?
I just wanted to make a statement regarding the plans and their being on hold. Previously, all plans were based on the idea that dispatch was moving in April.
Yes, good point.
April
Yep.
has come and gone, and now it looks like November or December is when they're moving. So, yeah, so you're looking at, that's a major change and would impact any renovations. So I
Good
just
point.
wanted you to be aware of that.
Yep.
Thanks.
That's a good point, is when we would start the work, dispatch is going to be in there longer than what was anticipated, so we would have to phase and work around that. So, thank you, Tim. That's a good point.
And that whole move, is that still in the original cost?
Yes, actually, dispatch is done, just waiting for the move based on the funding source and all of that. So if you walked in there now, it's done. It's just a matter of getting the move done. So, yeah.
Dick, you had something?
Yeah. Are these on, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's why I turned it on. I guess they're working. There was a question presented. Richie asked about some financing for the work in the old section. And maybe Rebecca, could you kind of enlighten us in terms of the application you have made?
Sure, sure. Well, Exec Finance did approve some funds that Paul had identified, some ARPA funds and others that are identified and kind of set aside that'll be coming to the county board on your next meeting to look at as well. But the funds that I applied for are funds through appropriations at the federal level. And so I've worked with and met with Van Orden's office and Baldwin's office several times in talking with them and submitted an application from both of them. And they are reviewing all of those applications right now and determining projects that they want to get behind and that will be taken forward. So, and then they just said that we'd find out in May. So normally the projects are funded about, I've looked at the list in the past, and so generally it's up to about $1 million. I was, in my conversations though with Baldwin's office, just, they recommended writing it for 5 million, so I did. And so both of those applications they're both different applications to each of those offices, and so I submitted both of those but asked for the same funding from both. But they would, both projects would be separate I should say both projects, because we put a project in for this remodel of this government center as well as a highway shop for over at the highway department. So both offices have been here discussing and asking questions about the project and taking a look at both sites and evaluating.
That'd be outstanding if they come through.
It would. It's really competitive. So there are many applications, many interested communities, of course, counties and communities. So we'll see what happens. But I know that especially, both offices have expressed interest in Trempealeau County, and that Trempealeau County has not received funding in the past. So we're hoping for some type of positive outcome there.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
That's great. Does anybody else have anything? Any other comments or questions on the whole new Justice Center project? Anything for Kurt? Nothing? All right. Next, we'll move on to number 7. IT Department, Tim Robinson.
Morning, everybody. Welcome, Renee, Richie. Glad you're on. Not much to report. At last meeting, I discussed that we were getting ready to move our data servers off the physical servers onto the virtualized. There were a lot of cleanup actions that had to be taken by various departments. The sheriff's department's gotten theirs done, so that migration is in process, and then we're still waiting on a couple departments. And
There might be a little bit with HR records, might be.
yeah, they have a rather clever and long way of naming all their folders, so it's created a problem.
Clever.
Might have
It's
been,
very descriptive. You might say excessively so. So they're almost done. They're working diligently. So we're going to hope to get that copied over this week. The first step is, of course, getting a backup that we can do a restoration from and make sure everything works before we migrate. We can't create a situation where we lose something. So once those are virtualized, that's a big weight off our shoulders. We're still waiting to finalize some firewall work to get as much out of that first floor closet in the old building as possible. If we don't get funding and there's a significant delay in the remodel of that building, I may have to approach Jeremy and this committee to seek some way to get redundant power into that first floor closet, because dispatch feeds off of that closet. So when we had that power outage, any power outage to this building, dispatch is down. they can't connect. So I'd like to figure out a way around that if it's gonna be a significant delay, but I don't wanna spend the money if we're just gonna end up remodeling shortly, so that's a decision we have to work on. The new printers continue to work just fine. We're seeing a big drop in volume, maybe because people are afraid to print the new equipment, I don't know. And we did significantly reduce the number of printers, so that's having an impact. Hopefully, we'll see that reflected in the actual amounts, because the new contract we have, as you recall from last meeting, it's every page that we actually print is what we pay for. There's no set minimums you have to hit, and so if they don't use it, we don't pay it. So that's a nice feature of this new contract. And that's about all I got for now.
I got a question for you, Tim.
Yes, sir.
We were at that Robert's Rules of Order meeting the other day, and they were talking about when we have the virtual meetings and you go to closed session and somebody's coming in on the internet, can somebody just tap into that, or is that secure? You know what I mean? Because you
The
should
Zoom-
shut the public off for that. And if you got one, like somebody coming zooming in today or something, is that a secure link?
The only insecurity about it is the physical location of the person that's in. You don't know who's in their location. If they're sitting in their home, the family could be there for all you know. You can't see. The actual connection itself on all the Zoom calls and all the Zoom meetings is encrypted, so they wouldn't be able to
Okay,
hack
so
that.
you can let them in and just shut everybody else out.
Yes, sir.
That's good to know. Rich?
Tim, what is the holdup of getting dispatch moved? I guess
Um,
I'm not sure.
In order to take advantage of the new equipment that's coming, there's a new connection. It's called EZNet from AT&T, and it's going in place now. And then the equipment, the Vesta equipment that they use to control the radios and the phone calls and all that, that's what we're waiting on. The cost to move the existing equipment and move the Lumen connection that feeds it would be prohibitive. We're talking $40,000, $50,000 to take and pick that up, and I don't trust Lumen as far as I can throw. So I really can't wait to be done doing business with them and over on the new EZNet, which is currently free from AT&T, so state's paying that bill.
Thank you.
You bet.
Does anybody else have any questions for Tim? If not, thank you, Tim, appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. Okay, next up to number 8, Jeremy, update on the maintenance.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I'll start with a few of the things that Kurt had alluded to earlier today. So with the landscaping, they are here this week. Green Oasis came and dropped all their trailers off last week. There's still quite a bit of stuff that they have to do here. A lot of that went into because they started near the beginning of winter, and then they closed down, and then we had to wait for road bands to get lifted, to get post D back, to come bring out more soil. And now we have them here to put out more sod, more seed, more netting, more plants, fix some of the trees that are growing a little bit crooked. We got some more stone that needs to go in and a bunch of mulch. So they'll be here all week doing a bunch of stuff for that. So some of the other issues that we have in the courtrooms, I don't know if any of you have been into the new courtrooms or not, or whether you've really paid attention to too much, but there's a bunch of sound panels on the wall, like fabric coated material on the wall. We never accepted those. I don't think Samuel's even accepted those, and we've been going back and forth with Samuel's, with Fowler and Hammer, with Verhalen, who was the contractor that installed them. A lot of them, they're wrinkled up. It looks like they were folded up, and you can kind of see that on the wall. So we've been trying to get them repaired, fixed. They don't line up correctly, and the last communication I got was last week from the other Kurt, that Fowler and Hammer is going to be going to a different vendor, and we think we're going to end up replacing most of those panels in there. If you get a chance, if you want to, I can bring anyone through and I can kind of show you more visually what we're looking at. And a lot of it's mostly just aesthetics, but it does not look good for what it cost and for what it is and for the new facility. Even like I said, nobody accepted these panels the way they are. So that's one of the projects that we're still working through right now. That is not not concluded from the new Justice Center build. Another thing that I'm working on here too is these ceiling tiles. I've spoken to IMEG and a few other people. The ones in particular are like the ones that are above your head where you can't see the grid work. Those are all tongue and groove tiles. They're not user-friendly. If you walk outside now, you'll see there's 2 of them missing. Just try to get 2 of those tiles out. They got completely destroyed. Trying to put a new tile in, got completely destroyed. They're, you have to try to angle them in because, again, like tongue and groove on the far side. So I'm looking at trying to, I've talked to PCI, who is the installer in that. They're going to be sending me some different tiles so that I can, for the ones specifically that I have to get into every month, because there's either HVAC filters in there or there's plumbing supply lines and stuff like that. These tiles are 20 some odd dollars a piece, and I don't want to have to just replace them at a cost every single time that we have to take them out. So I did express to IMEG that I wouldn't recommend these to be used at any other facility. A few of my peers through the county that are going through a few things again, they're aesthetically pleasing, but they are not user-friendly, and they're all over this building. All the public areas have them. So that's another project that we're working on. So if you see a few areas that are missing a tile in the public areas, that's why. I'm working on it, but I don't want to keep shoving tiles in there and breaking them over and over again. We had our elevator inspection done last week, and I'll be working with the state here. From the old jail has an elevator in it. None of the old building elevators have phones in them. They're not required to because of the age of the elevators, but the elevator that was in the jail used to have a communication line in it because it was in the jail. Now that the jail is vacated, because I had a line of communication in there, I have to continue to keep a line of communication in that according to the inspector. So I'm waiting back from the state. So I may end up having to run a phone line to that particular elevator, even though it's only going to be used as a freight elevator going forward because the old jail is going to be for storage. But if we continue to use it, it's going to have a phone in it, according to the inspector. Again, I'm just waiting for confirmation from the state before I go that route. But I did talk to Tim about this last week to try to get what an annual cost going forward will be to have a phone in there, but then I have to figure out the installation cost of that as well. So that's something that's on my radar I'll bring to you when it becomes applicable, maybe next month. We are looking at a few other things too for areas in child support and part of the courtroom where we're still having sound carryover issues. One of the child support technicians can hear what's happening in the DA's office from time to time and vice versa. We've already looked through and seen that the walls do go to the deck. There is insulation in between. There's no large holes through for vent work or anything like that. So trying to figure out a solution. Right now, I've come up with a small white noise generator that I'll be putting in the main area is the lobby of child support, which is the biggest problem because they have 2 conference rooms off of their lobby. And when meetings are happening in those conference rooms, the people that are in the lobby can hear what's happening in there. And a lot of that stuff should be private or confidential. So we're going to try to generate a little bit of white noise in the waiting area and see if that helps. There's also all hard floors in there, which is also not helping because carpet will help, deaden some of the sound carrying. So we'll end up probably looking at changing some of the flooring in those rooms as well. But they're all hard flooring, and I'm just going to try to put an area rug in them right now instead of just trying to glue tiles down to a VCT floor until we know if that's going to help. So that's another project that's being addressed right now.
Maybe when they take those panels out of the courthouse, you can
Put them in there, put them on the walls in there.
I mean, it doesn't have to look so good there as it does the courthouse, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's what I talked to Corey last week, I think is when you guys were here, or a week before. So that's the architects and engineers that were here, and that was one of the suggestions, and they sent me a link to the ones that they recommend. But there's not like a huge gap between the door and the floor anyway, so it's just I think it's a culmination of a whole bunch of different things and trying to do one step at a time. And door sweeps are on there, but that one's a more expensive option up front, whereas just the throw rugs or the white noise machine, which I had, was all under $20 at a crack, so.
Jeremy,
Yes, sir.
there's also an issue, right, in the inmate waiting room between the courtrooms?
Yes and no. So that one too also carries over. If the inmates are being non-cooperative, I know that, you know, if they're being super loud, that does as well. We've had issues in the courtrooms. A lot of it is either stemmed from the garage that was below courtroom 1, which Samuels did come in and they did a bunch of caulking, sealing, insulation. But it's the same principle between the holding cells. The walls still go to the deck. Those doors are loud because they're jail doors and they slam too, so they can hear that. I know there's been instances of the DAR machine, which is the machine that does the transcription in the courtrooms, has picked up noises in that room before too and transposed that. So it's, again, there's a lot of sound carryover issue that is in this room as well. You can hear what's going on in the lobby if it's loud enough, and vice versa. So there's been some, with closed session or things like that, those particular meetings got moved to the Badger room downstairs, like personnel bargaining stuff that's more private in nature, because the sound carryover from there is less than it is from this room. This room too, you got a bunch of glass, you've got, you know, it's not the best room for that kind of stuff. So that's been a work in progress now between myself, Samuels, and then child support or the DA's office or the judge's office to try to figure out a solution for a lot of that. We're still working on the automatic doors. That this committee did approve some money for that, to adding another set of automatic doors. So I'm still working with Kurt S. for that one as well. So we can, just for the new people that are here on the new entrance of this building, there's one set of automatic doors on the entrance. There's not a set of automatic doors on the exit, including the exit when you leave through security. So this project is going to be putting an opener on each set of exit doors, plus the exit door that's right next to the deputies at the front door. When you go to leave, you'll see that. But that way there's a handicap button so that it's wheelchair friendly.
Jeremy, I don't know if this would be a good time to bring it up, but I wanted to compliment on the courtyard area. It's very attractive. Thank you. I wanted to comment on the courtyard area. It's very attractive. But question what's the purpose of it? I mean, besides looking really good and people going around, is there another way to access it for the employees besides going all the way around?
The only way to get into that courtyard is going to be from the front doors of this building. So you're either going to come up the walk and then, you know, veer to the right, or there is a set of doors on this wall that goes
Right, I
out to the
did see that.
courtyard. But from the old building, those are all alarmed fire doors, so there's no way to get to that courtyard from
Okay.
the old building. They do have to come out this way. It's been used quite a bit. We did put some picnic tables out there, some umbrellas in the picnic table.
Yeah, it's very nice.
But yes, like I said, that's the only way to really access that is from the existing lobby, or the new lobby, or from walking up from you can't access it from the old building.
Okay, thank you.
We are still working also through some issues in the jail. This weekend in particular, we had an electrical issue where one of the circuits got overloaded and we could smell the electrical breaker started overloading for the most part. So I've already had B&B here this morning. It's a shunt breaker that's hooked up to the fire alarm system. So if the ANSEL system or the hood suppression went off, it would kill the power to the units that are underneath. It just started overheating. The breaker did for some reason. We could smell it, you know, when it smells like hot electrical. So I came in this weekend, shut that down, tried to figure out what was going on. And like I said, B&B was here this morning. We have a new breaker on order. And then I have to status with the kitchen once I'm done here this morning, let them know what's going on. In the jail too, we also are still having some plumbing issues, which I've been working with Zimmerman, who was the installer for this building, and then with Sloan, who is the supplier of a lot of the correctional supplies, Sloan and Acorn, who supplied all the toilets and stuff like that. So we're having a few pipes just come apart for whatever reason. So when they flush the toilet, the water just starts flooding in the mechanical spaces instead of going through the toilet. A lot of the sewage lines from the toilets have a pin in them so that if stuff were to get flushed that shouldn't get flushed, it would get stuck and I could pull it out in the back of the toilet. But we've had inmates flushing down food or excessive amounts of toilet paper, which is then plugging up the toilets as well. So we have to go in and pull the pin out, clean out the lines, and then, but the jail is really good about letting us know about that, so depending on the situation, we still come in at nights or weekends to clear those lines too as needed. And we also are still having some issues with some of the correctional doors, which is a matter between us doing some repairs or getting hold of Stronghold, who was the person the company that was doing the correctional doors, or Accurate Controls, who does the control portion of that, the computer control portion of those doors. So we're expecting Stronghold here this morning because 2 of the slider doors are only closing about halfway through the jail right now. But that's an ongoing issue, trying to correct gremlins as they pop up, which are going to be popping up for the next however long. The only other stuff that we, in the past month here, is the maintenance. We've done quite a few office shifts in the old building. We relocated Corp Counsel and HR from where they were located down to where the district attorney's office used to be. We then did move land records up from the land management area up to where HR and Corp Counsel used to be. So we repainted a bunch of those rooms, got them all ready for them to inhabit for the time being. So this was just some moves that were requested through those various departments until we figure out what's happening with the remodel. So this was trying to just get, like I said, the land records out of land management, free everybody up and give them a little bit more space to do what they needed to do. And then here over the next month or so, I'll be working between the sheriff's department and IT and then myself trying to figure out going forward what type of contract solutions we're going to be looking at for, whether it's for Accurate Controls or the Stronghold, what maintenance agreements with some of these companies to, because we still have to have some of them come in and service certain things, like even like the x-ray machine, there's certain certifications that my staff can't do. So if I have a contract with these and we get cheaper hourly rates and then so many service calls per year, I don't know the exact number of these yet, but we have to determine these before budget time comes out and then trying to figure out, one, how much they are and whose budget they're gonna fall under. Because some of them are maintenance, some of them are IT, some of them are correctional. So just trying to square away. It all comes from the same big pocket, but who's gonna be responsible for managing that money, we have to figure out as well. So that's something that'll be going on here over the next few weeks, trying to figure that. And then lastly, for one of the things that Tim had mentioned earlier for the generator, when the new generator that was added in the Justice Center powers like 98% of this building, and then it powers everything that used to be powered in the old building from the old generator. So that's still only about 45%, 50% of that building. Dispatch itself does run off of the generator, but some of the stuff that powers dispatch is not on the backup generator in that old room. So if that's something that we're gonna have to look at in the future, if they're gonna be stuck, the dispatch is gonna be stuck over there for a while, we'll have to add a few new circuits to that old building. So I just wanted to make that clear so that you guys knew, because we did have a generator that is strong enough to power everything, but in the Justice Center build, transfer switches were not included for the old portion of the building to up how much that building covered. So that's one of the projects that'll be on my capital expense wish list going forward, is to upgrade that old facility to run off the generator as well. Because when this generator is running, I think we're only running at about 25% capacity for output of what that generator does. So we have plenty of leeway to start adding more stuff from the other building to that.
Couple questions for,
Yeah,
maybe for Kurt, what's happening with the windows here?
with the glass,
Yeah,
I don't have any knowledge of anything on that. I know that there was a picture that was supposed to be etched onto that at one time, but then I think they just couldn't, it wasn't gonna be a clear picture because of the size and the style of picture it was. So at the time, it was, we needed something, so we put a frosted glass on there, and I don't know where we're sitting.
Are you wanting something different than what's there?
Oh, I don't know, I'm
This
just,
was always-
we talked about it the other day at
Yeah,
exec
this was always
finance.
going to be, this translucent, but we didn't want it so that it was clear through there. So there was actually imagery, I think we looked at 4
Right.
or 5 different photos, and then we got down to the one photo. And when that photo was actually put onto this frosted piece, it lost its, you really couldn't make out what it was. So that's when we made the determination to just go to this frosted. So this is what was agreed upon. If you want
So
something.
this is the final,
Yeah, if you want something different than that, I mean, obviously, we can look at something. Are you concerned about too much light, or?
I think, for some reason, there was some thought that that was coming off and we would be able to see into there.
Oh, no.
Yep.
The intent was that we didn't want people to see in, but you'd let the natural light come into here, right?
Okay.
But that there wouldn't be
Yeah.
a viewing, so you could see the meeting that was going on in here. If you want that to change, it obviously can be
Yeah,
addressed,
well,
but.
this is, in my thinking, would be the answer, to stay with this, right?
Yeah, because the
So
only
there was no
other,
intentions of doing anything different,
No.
so I was just misinformed.
Correct.
yeah, just because like it's, like the landscaping picture that was,
Right,
didn't look good, and the only other option that someone had brought to me was trying to put the county logo on there, which would look fine from this side,
right.
but it would be wrong on the other side as you're
side,
walking in,
right.
and you can't back them up to each other because of the way that it is. So this, as far as I knew, yes, was completed.
The other thing I had is, how's your budget? I know we tightened you pretty tight with exec finance.
So far, everything it's on track. I have had a little bit of more spending on, there's always a couple things at the beginning of the year that were, oh, we need this, we need
Right.
this, or, so my small items equipment is pretty much gonna be spent here probably by the end of the month. Electrical, that one I know I asked for more than I got.
Right,
I won't really know until probably the end of this month.
Okay.
The next bill, because that's all the ACs are starting to run right now. So I was average the past few months, kind of where I thought I was gonna be, but with all the chillers running now, I'm probably gonna be up probably about another $2-3 grand. Once I get the next bill, then I can sit down and try to make sure that I'm gonna have enough to make it through the end of the year. If not, if I have to go back to exec finance, I was clear with exec finance
Yeah,
at the
we
last
left it
point
that
that
way, exactly.
if I don't have enough, I'm coming back to you guys anyway, because some of the stuff is outside of my control. The gas, electric, water. Water bill's gonna end up being a little bit more because of going from 26 inmates to 60, I think maybe we're sitting at right now, so there's more toilets, more showers.
yeah, what, I guess this isn't you, but I hear we're getting some inmates from Jackson County or something already?
That's outside of the realm of what I can speak to.
Yeah,
I just know
okay.
that
No,
there's more water being
We do.
used because of the amount of stuff going through there.
Talked to
so.
Jackson County while we're at the cows meeting, and they have prisoners here now.
Interesting. Okay, thanks, Jerry.
Yep. Any other questions or concerns, maintenance-wise, right now?
Is this cooling system here similar to the old building, kind of a swamp cooler?
Well, it's not, yes and no. So it's a chiller system. So outside of the big compressors, so there's water that runs through the old building. It's a water compressor system. In this building, it's a glycol system. So it runs outside, it gets chilled down. It runs through all of the pipes run through the building, and then there's basically little radiators in the ceiling. And if it needs cooling, the cold radiator opens. If it needs heating, the heating radiator opens, and that changes the temperature of the air coming through the rooms. That's why it's not like at home. At home, you need heat, your heater turns on. When it reaches a temperature, it turns off. Same with the AC. Here, there's always air running through the system. It just depends on how much that radiator is open and how much the flap is open at each one of the vents. So that's where we have a few places in the building where we put directional vents, because some of the people don't like the air blowing on them constantly all day long, so we try to blow that around to different areas. But yes, it is it's not quite a swamp cooler, but it's a water or glycol-based system.
Now, I know in the other building you have to run heat to take care of humidity.
Correct. So the boilers are running in both buildings.
So you're running heat in here to maintain.
Yeah, there will be heat that runs
To maintain humidity.
humidity and or temperature in each, yeah, because like I said, this is one particular zone. The hallway's a different zone, the stairway's a different zone, so everywhere it runs, I have all the temperatures set within about 4 degrees of each other, and then that's what the thermostats will be. If you push it up, you're gonna get 2 degrees swing up. push it down, you get 2 degrees swing down from what the set point is going to be. But there's always heat running, there's always chilling, there's always cooling running. But it's not necessarily the boiler's only gonna be running maybe at 5% through the summer, where it's gonna be running at 100% during the winter. And the chiller will only run when it's over, that building, when it's over 55 degrees outside, that chiller runs. When it's over 58 degrees, this chiller will turn on. But again, there's 2 chillers over here, and there may be only 1 stage out of 6 that might be running at any given time. July, August, both chillers are gonna be running, and both chillers are gonna be running over here just to maintain temperature.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Just to get back to the noise, we had a personnel bargaining meeting here the other day, and we thought it was vacuum cleaner running in the deal, remember? Actually, what it turned out to be was the paper shredder outside. That thing is pretty loud, so.
That truck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing is, that's what it was. Holy man, that's a loud vacuum cleaner, but but it was a vacuum truck.
Yeah, shredder guy comes once a month, and yeah, he's not
And then-
very quiet.
We've talked about this not being good for a closed meeting, but I had Kellen Nelson and Dave Larson kind of at that window and basically talking as loud as possible. I went out in the lobby at night, and you couldn't hear a thing.
Okay.
So I think it'll be sufficient.
Well, one thing we
Normally.
found, we were talking about this one other time, is that these holes, service holes or whatever, they are open unless you put some styrofoam.
There's insulation stuff. Well, that's what we did in the garage areas over there. In this one here, I haven't done anything personally, and I could follow up with Tad to see if he's done anything over here. But I'm not exactly sure 100% if they did any insulation in here. But I know Tad and one of the laborers were here for a while doing that, because they had to seal up 2 of the server rooms downstairs, the garage, and they may have done something over here, but I can't speak to that.
Were there 4 in this room? 4 of these?
The round boxes, yeah, there's like 6.
6, because you open it, you can see down into the lobby, if I'm not mistaken.
You should be able to just see, if you're gonna see anything, you're gonna see into the ceiling. You're not gonna see all the way down into you're not gonna see Mark or anything down that way.
They were open all the way down, but they are closed.
No, it would just, if you're gonna see anything at all, in the courtrooms, if you open them up when we moved in, yes, you could see right into the garage, because there's no drop ceiling below that. Here, you've got ceilings above Mark, so even if you were to see anything in there, it would just be darkness in the void in between the floor and the ceiling, but.
But all these, Kurt, I got a question for you. All these issues we have, but, you gotta replace those filters every month, and the tiles are breaking when you try to get in there, you said?
Yeah, so
Well, who's responsible for all those extra costs? Because we got plumbers, electricians, and
Right now,
ceiling
there's-
tile here, so I was just wondering, is it the contractor's responsibility, or how's that work?
I think we're talking about 2 issues there, is obviously, what Jeremy's talking about is locations, if he's gotta, get to a valve, or if he's gotta get to a filter, we may have to look at an access panel or something there that he doesn't have to take a finished product out every time, right? So that's the element that I think would be the way to address that. The tile that was selected, obviously, from a operational perspective, doesn't meet the needs from what Jeremy's talking about. But like he pointed out, that's not in every location. So I think the process would be identify the locations that he does need to access monthly or annually, and then do we do an access panel that has the finish appearance so that you can get to that point? They're still removable, but they are brittle along the edges because of how they're installed versus seeing the grid and dropping them in. It's a different product selection.
yeah, there's
So-
4 or 5 different types of tiles. It's just these particular ones that are the problem. And like I said, the PCI is sending me tiles that are the same finish, but they're drop-in as opposed to the slide-in, like these ones here. So there is gonna be a slight difference in the way they're positioned in the grid work, but that is my solution going forward for the ones that I need to get into. For anything else that you're speaking, when I have to have the plumbers come back, the electricians come back, there's no bills coming to me for that stuff. That is all warranty stuff.
This one, yeah.
So like the breaker that went bad this weekend, that's a warranty issue. B&B will come back out, they'll replace that, there's no bill coming to me.
That's great. I just wanted clarity on it. I like the access panel idea first. I mean, that should almost been in design, because if you gotta get in there every month, it'd make it so much easier, you know, yourself, but,
And
if
and
we
they
could fix
did, they
that.
did add several access panels as we went through. It's just, there's gonna be more that are gonna come up where we're gonna need to find out where we wanna put them.
Yeah, in the jail, it's all access. That was something that was a change well along, so, because the ceiling tiles in the jail are all screwed in. So some of them we have doors, some of them we can take out the screws, and a lot of them are screwed in from the top. So there were a lot of access doors added to the jail for maintenance. It's just, you don't think about putting an access tile or an access door into a drop grid ceiling because you just think, I'm gonna lift the tile right out and do what you need to do. It's just a different design that, again, it made it very aesthetically pleasing, but like a lot of things, it looks good up front, but when you go to fix it later, you know, it's not made for
Not
maintenance.
practical,
Like
yeah.
even half of the stuff that, you know, and I used to have a 72 pickup, I could get right inside of the truck and do everything I need to do. And now it's, some of the batteries are in the trunk, so a lot of it doesn't make sense when you go to do maintenance stuff. So a lot of this stuff is just live and learn. We'll figure it out as we go. And Samuels has been real good about helping me find solutions to what I need. So, but again, there's been no bills coming across for parts or anything, because again, it's all maintenance, warranty-related issues right now. So as long as I can get all of them between the next, as much as I can find between because a lot of the stuff is either gonna be, I got some 6, I got some 12, I got some 18 and 24-month warranties, depends on what the issue is. Some of them are quite a bit longer. It's just a matter of, you know, making sure that we find them in that warranty time, so.
It's good that they're working with it. It's good they're working with you like that. That's nice to hear. All right. Anybody else have any questions for Jeremy?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. All right, next up, set date and time for next meeting, June 10th. Everybody can make that, 8:30. Is it okay with everybody?
Yes.
All right. One last thing I was gonna ask, Kurt, I noticed at the last board meetings, when you watch them on TV, you guys are pretty dark up there. And do we have to move the tables back or something? Because at our last exec finance, you could barely see Dave, even with the lights on, because I don't know if it's because of the brightness in the background, or,
I don't know, I wasn't aware of that.
yeah, we just noticed it at the last meeting, so,
Cameras, it's not coming up?
yeah. Just that part of it, I mean, I don't know.
Day meeting, Adi?
That was at exec finance, remember, Dave was up there, and
Oh.
we were watching, I think it was exec finance, we were watching it here,
Yeah,
and it was
exec
just,
finance.
he was dark, like in a
Sure.
big shadow. I don't know.
Full disclosure, you'd think that would happen with the translucent, but maybe
Yep.
it is.
I don't know if it's
It
because.
seems bright enough in here to me. I don't know.
I know, and I was surprised, that's what I said, I mean, like, these all look good here,
Yeah.
but,
But if the light is behind you, it's pretty.
Yeah, Renee right there.
Well, you are
looks- She looks dark right
yeah,
there.
see what I mean?
You actually look a little darker up there right now. It
Yeah,
just-
you could look at the,
Yeah.
And I don't know.
They could probably
maybe
move the
something to
table
think
back.
about, should we?
I think it's the positioning of the tables, wasn't it?
Move it back a hair.
Yeah, Doc, somebody said that, yeah. You gotta move them more towards the light or back to the way.
The other thing, you said that this meeting is not broadcast, but I think it is because Friday they broadcast, PTED meeting was broadcast live.
Oh, I wasn't
aware that Yeah.
started broadcasting.
And it says it's on air right now up there, so I'm assuming it is.
Cool.
I know I watched PTED from my desk. Or in
All
the
right.
background.
Since we found that out at the end of the meeting. Okay, we've accomplished everything on the agenda. Appreciate everybody coming out to meeting adjourned.